Tom, how are you?
Derek, I'm good, thank you. But I hate to break it to you, it's a Tuesday, so we can't do this podcast. It's Tuesday morning.
Well,
Sorry, mate.
I'll get into my time machine and we'll go back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry,
So
that was such a bad dad joke.
did you know that that Billy the Kid had UK roots before you took it? Because he's trilingual for those who are listening. He can speak Gaelic and Spanish and obviously English.
Yeah.
Did you know that before you took the part?
I did before I did the part, but not before I got the part. So before I started working on it, I did all the research and found, yeah, I didn't realize that he was as Irish as he is.
Mm.
Both parents Irish, lived in Irish slums in New York. Was probably born in New York, we think, but to an Irish community, he probably spoke with an Irish accent and spoke Gaelic. Um, but yeah, it's kind of in a way it kind of gave me a little bit of more license to feel like I had the right to play him because I was like he comes from a culture that is more close to my own maybe.
Yeah.
And so that kind of I could understand it a little better maybe than just him, whether if he was just born in the Southwest states, then it's a little further away from me. But yeah.
And you've nailed it too. I like the way you've nailed it because I mean you've got the look down, you've got the feel down, man. It's just great to watch. Like you've really settled into this role and you've really run away with it.
Thank you.
People don't think about that. I was thinking about Tom knowing we were going to speak is that so this kid by 13, he's orphaned, right?
Yeah.
Loses his mom, brother, father. Many of the crimes he's probably done as a teenager, right? In today's society, it would have been handled much differently, and he had the world after his head.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying being a juvenile delinquent that's killed 21 people absolves you from all these crimes,
Yeah.
but Billy's story is much deeper than people say. Don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you kind of hit it on the head there by, it's a different time, right? It's like it was so lawless at the time where he was that people literally would hand out badges and say, okay, now you're a lawmaker, you're a lawman,
Mm,
He was operating in a world where he was a delinquent, but so were the people in charge half the time.
yeah.
Um, and I think the show really delves into like a lot of the time he's actually just matching the energy that people are coming at him with. He's in these like made up court systems sometimes, and he's looking around in season one and he's going like, none of this is real. What are you talking about? Like this is corrupt. And then he gets, he's told by people who know better that it is corrupt and that there are people pulling the strings at the top just to make money. And at that point, he just kind of is like, well, I don't want any part of it. I'm going to make up my own rules then.
Yeah.
Which I think is like, it's a kind of tale as old as time, but also very specific to like the building of America in the Old West.
Yeah, yeah, well said. He's lived a lot of life before 21.
Yeah.
How do you think personally? I haven't seen the end of season two. I'm just beginning my journey to the second half. How do you think Billy died? Do you think Pat Garrett did it? Do you think Pat helped him get away? Because I know if I was the writer, and I'm not as good a writer as Michael or any of these people are, but if I wrote this story, I'd have Pat and Billy riding off in the sunset and meeting up like Shawshank
Yeah.
Redemption, hugs on the beach. I feel like there's some betrayal though because the way the story's supposed to play out, right? I feel like it's the I don't know if you ever see Point Break or Carlito's Way.
Yeah, of course.
I feel betrayal. I feel like I don't want it to end with Pat shooting him. I don't want that to be the end. I want it to be this Shawshank hug on a beach and I helped you get out, man. How do you don't have to tell me how it actually ends. How would you have it end?
I mean, I always like it when you see the history play out, but you see the nuance of the history. Like I would love to see there's two versions, right? We think that he either was murdered by or killed by Pat Garrett, in in a pitch dark room. He came out asking like, who is it in Spanish, and Pat Garrett shoots him, or Pat Garrett helped him get away and pretended that he shot him, in order to help him get away, faked his death. But either way, I think what I'd love to see is the nuance of like why Pat hunted him down play out. And I think like that's way more interesting to me is like Pat's own ambition. Like Pat is so ambitious. He wants Billy's fame and he's willing to kill Billy to get his fame. Like
Hmm.
to become synonymous with Billy the Kid and to take his name and essentially he's trying to like steal his name by doing that. And it will never work because he'll only be known as the killer who killed him, not Billy the Kid himself. Um, but I'm fascinated in that, and I think whatever Michael Hurst decides to write, will be great because he's so good at reimagining history. But I don't know what he's thinking, but I'm intrigued to know, and I hope that people stick around to a potential season 3 to find out. All I will say is that there's hopefully more to come because he's not dead yet.
I'll tell you who's great is you as Billy the Kid Man. Thank you so much for this, and
Thank
look forward to your work.
you
Thanks.
so much. It's
Appreciate it.
great
Yep.
meeting you.
Bye bye.
Cheers, Derek.